Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Storytime Society. I'm your host Jamie and I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're alive. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Storytime Society. And today's theme is creepy, weird father-in-laws. Okay, have we had this one before? I'm not sure. I know we have done like a father-in-law one. I'm not really sure if it was based around creepy deepy ones or which also I just woke up from a nap, so like excuse me. I'm Sleeping Beauty right now. The first story is titled, My Father-in-Law Accidentally Posted a D pic in the family group chat. This morning, my father-in-law posted a seemingly innocuous photo of our new dog in our family group chat. He had been visiting my wife and I over the weekend, and he took lots of pictures of our pets, as he always does. I thought, oh, what a nice picture of our dog. It was actually a screenshot of a picture he took with other pictures from his camera roll visible at the bottom of the image. Something in the camera roll caught my curiosity, so I zoomed in. Instant regret. The next 6 pictures in his camera roll appeared to be a series of pictures of his 78-year-old semi-erect penis. I immediately began to feel sick and wanted to gouge my eyes out. I texted my wife and told her to delete the picture right away. Don't look at it, just delete it. She deleted it, and I'm pretty sure she didn't see the camera roll. Thank goodness. This was not the way I envisioned my morning proceeding. Dude, that's hilarious. I'm so glad I've never seen, like, my dad or my grandpa or... I would cry. Someone said, don't feel too bad. I know someone who's posted her nudes in her family group chat at least twice, and she's in her early 20s. That's actually terrifying. I feel like someone I know, someone in high school, I think I was like with a bunch of my friends and all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, what is on this guy's story? And it was like a nude of him. And I was like, we were like, oh shit, that's not good. But I feel like for guy, like at least for that specific guy, I don't think he really cared, to be honest with you. I don't know. I almost feel like it's more not embarrassing, but I feel like guys aren't that, they don't feel like that bad about it. At least, I don't know. Maybe these are just the guys that went to my high school, but I feel like they would just be like, whatever. Whatever. Like, yeah, you saw. Who hasn't, you know? But like for a girl, I feel like for me, like I would think my world was over. I would think the end of my life was happening at that moment in time. I mean, when I was in 8th grade, I sent a nude and it literally got sent. I sent a nude when I was in 8th grade, I sent a nude to a 9th grader. It was either that or I was in 7th grade and he was an 8th grader. But I think I was in 8th grade and he was a 9th grader. And then once I got to high school, for some reason, he still had it and it was getting sent around. I never saw it, but one of my friends was like telling me, one of my friends, she was 2 years older than me, and she was telling me that it was getting sent around and she was shaming me. She was like, why would you send a nude? And she's done way worse. She had done way worse at that time, and she was shaming the fuck out of me for that. And I was like, I don't know. I'm in 8th grade. I don't know. Like, sorry. I literally was prepubescent. Like, are you kidding me? My bad. My bad. I was trying to get a guy in the grade older to like me. Like, okay, calm down. I mean, poor little girl. Like, I really hope that my kid, when she's that age, doesn't want to send nudes because I wish that I wasn't doing that. Like, I feel so bad for myself back then. I didn't even have boobs. Like, I had little tiny anthills, probably. I think I've told you guys that story before, but I, like, used clear tape to, like, tape my boobs up to make them look, like, bigger. I don't understand what that could have looked like, but it was taken on my rumor touch, so, like, how good quality could it have been? You know, you probably couldn't even see or tell. Anyways, we're gonna move on to the next story. Am I the asshole for breaking up with my fiancé after he didn't say anything to his dad, who was taking pictures of me in the shower? My fiancé and I were visiting his family for Christmas. On our 3rd night, I went into the shower. Never once have I ever understood or believed in feeling like someone is watching you until that day. I truly felt like there was someone else in the room with me. I turn around and I see a phone in between the decorative curtain and the clear curtain that keeps water out. I get startled and fling open the curtain to see his dad for a split second as he left the room. any hope of it being my fiancé quickly fizzling out. The door was cracked open still, and I immediately grabbed my phone and started blowing up my fiancé's phone. When I eventually got out of the shower, it became an argument very quickly. At first, he didn't believe me. He was saying I was probably just paranoid because I'm not used to the new house. Huh? And then he changed his story too. He was probably taking a picture for me and was going to send it to him later when things died down. And then he began to imply that I made it up because I wasn't the biggest fan of his dad. All the while, I'm begging him to go in and get the picture off of his phone and tell him that it's not okay. We continued to argue, and eventually I told him that if he wasn't going to talk to his dad and have him delete the photo, I was going to take legal action. He proceeded to insist that I was overreacting, and eventually I got so pissed I packed my things and left the next morning. I took an Uber to the train station and figured it out from there. 5 hours later, I finally got home, and I'm still angry about the situation. I texted my now ex-fiancé that if he wasn't willing to believe me or stand up for me, especially in such an extreme situation, that is not someone I want to be with, and I will be taking legal action. He tried to protest and tell me to just come back and we could work it out, but I blocked him. No, we cannot work it out. Are you okay? What do you mean he was just taking it? Oh, he's probably just taking the picture for me, and then he was going to send it to me later. Oh, thanks, Dad. Thank you. What? What? That's the most insane thing I've ever heard. Like, how is that person genuinely real? Someone said, that is not something you just work out, not the asshole. Press charges, if for no other reason than to make them sweat. I can't believe he would be so, like, bold to go into the room while you're showering and just, like, stick his phone in between the curtain and take a picture of you as if you're never going to notice. Like, sorry, that's the easiest thing to notice unless he sees that your eyes are closed and then he takes it out as soon as you're done, like, washing your hair. But obviously, when you feel like a presence, you're going to immediately be like, hello? Like, hello? Who's there? Who's there? And to answer the question, you're not the asshole because I would also break up with that person. If they're not going to stick up for you over that, like, what are they ever going to stick up for you for? Like, are they ever going to have your back? Because that's an insane accusation. And then to just be like, making all these excuses for him as if that's not the most fucked up thing ever. Like, the fact that he wasn't livid at his dad for that is so insane to me. It's really crazy to me. Okay. The next title is, sorry, we just kind of flew through those, but those were really short. This one is the one that I'm like, this one is like the bulk of the episode because there's there might actually be four updates. Yeah, there's 4 updates. So this is going to be like a big one. Okay. The title is My Father-in-Law Asks What Would Happen If We Were the Same Age. I, female 27, have been married to my husband, male 27, for almost 2 years, together for almost 4. My mother-in-law married her husband, male 47, about 3 months after our wedding. Stepfather-in-law was mother-in-law's neighbor, so the entire time he's known me, he's only known me as my partner's girlfriend slash fiance slash wife. My stepfather-in-law even did our premarital counseling. I have a really good relationship with my in-laws. We talk on the phone with them several times a week and visit them every month or so. Today they came to visit us. My husband and his mom went out to lunch together for some one-on-one time, while I went to get coffee and lunch with my stepfather-in-law. While we were sitting in the coffee shop, my stepfather-in-law said, I have a strange question to ask you. Don't take this the wrong way. Essentially, he asked if I thought anything could ever happen between us if he were my age. I said, I don't know. I think we would get so close that we could only ever be platonic friends. You know, someone that you couldn't imagine being anything but friends with. And then he started telling me about how it probably wouldn't work because of how he treated women in his 20s, but if he had the same mindset that he did in his 40s, things might be different. For background, my stepfather-in-law has been very affectionate towards me always, calling me beautiful or princess and holding me in long hugs. But having grown up without a father and him having a strained relationship with his own daughter, I always thought he was just trying to create the type of father-daughter relationship he thought we both wanted. We carried on with the rest of the day as normal, and I told my husband about this conversation once the in-laws left, but I'm not sure what to make of this situation or where to go from here. Okay. There's some relevant comments from OP that's already like pasted into this story. And they said, my husband is pissed. He's worried for my safety and for his mom. We haven't told mother-in-law yet. We plan to talk to her at some point, but we're not sure when exactly. My father-in-law used to be a pastor and a counselor, so he's been telling us about how he's trying to help my mother-in-law work through years of trauma and rebuild her confidence. That was actually the reason for the visit. My father-in-law told mother-in-law it was important to share her experiences with her son so they could work through any generational traumas together. And we were going to go out for coffee and lunch to give them space to talk. Though now I'm obviously unsure if his intentions were genuine or if it was just a chance to get me alone. We're worried this will only hurt my mother-in-law more. We're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. He was understandably mad and kept saying he wants to fight my father-in-law. He said he trusts me, but he's worried for my safety and his mom. We already have plans to see them over Christmas and New Year's, so we agreed that we'll call father-in-law this week and set some boundaries, and I will no longer be alone with him. Obviously, you have to tell the mom. I would absolutely be telling my mom or my mother-in-law. Like, I'd be like, girl, this is what your man's said to me. Isn't this so weird? Like, what the hell is wrong with him? That's so creepy. Also, like, I don't know, to try to create a father-daughter relationship and also, like, to be doing the premarital counseling and all of that. And then I just think that maybe they should go, like, maybe the mother-in-law should go to a therapist, like a real therapist. You are a pastor and a counselor. I don't know what kind of counselor, but like regardless, I don't really feel like it's right. Like if my dad were a therapist, like he shouldn't be my therapist. Or even if my mother-in-law were a therapist, like if my boyfriend's mom was a therapist, like she still shouldn't be my therapist. I feel like it's too close and it needs to be more of like it needs to be like a professional type relationship with like the therapist to the go to someone outside of someone that you're related to, because I don't think you're going to find the most amount of help there. And if anything as well, that could just lead to him finding out like ways to manipulate you or things that get under your skin, or like I feel like he just has an upper hand on you then. Not saying that like you shouldn't be honest with your partner or anything, but I feel like things that I share with a therapist wouldn't be the way that I talk to my partner. Like I would share it in different ways, and then you know you know what I mean. I feel like that's normal. You don't have like a family member be your therapist. Okay, so we're going to read the update. My father-in-law asks what would happen if we were the same age. Update 1. I've had a handful of people follow my account after I posted this story, so I figured I should update, though it won't be much. So my husband and I waited a couple of days to call my stepfather-in-law. He works from home, and my mother-in-law works in an office, so that gave us the space to assess the situation without upsetting her. I had my husband call because I was too uncomfortable to have this talk. My husband did record the conversation in case we needed it, but of course my stepfather-in-law denied any romantic/sexual feelings towards me. My stepfather-in-law said he meant it in a platonic way, but he sees how he messed up and crossed a line. I don't know if I believe him. Something still doesn't sit right with me about the initial conversation. It's called everything he's done into question. If he meant it platonically, why did he leave it so open-ended? He never said the word friends. Why would he then go on to tell me how he treated women like sexual objects? What makes it worse is that my stepfather-in-law told my husband he had a feeling he would eventually get a call about the situation. If he realized he messed up, why wouldn't he take the initiative to clear it up? The optimist in me really hopes he just made a stupid mistake, but the pessimist in me feels like he's been mulling this over for a while and he decided to strike while I was vulnerable. I just had a miscarriage in November, and we just bought a house that we discovered is riddled with problems. So, needless to say, it's been a rough time. My husband feels the same and hoping that it was just a mistake, but worried it's much deeper than that. I don't know if my mother-in-law knows. We've talked to her a couple of times since, and she hasn't said anything. I'm scared of hurting her if it really was a stupid mistake on my stepfather-in-law's end. If he does anything else that raises a red flag, we'll see about talking to her. We planned for the in-laws to come visit for Christmas this weekend, but we're having plumbing problems, so we canceled. Have to laugh about the timing, though we are going to stay with them for New Year's. My therapist helped me plan out some boundaries and buffers so I can steer clear of stepfather-in-law as much as possible. That's all I've got for now. I'm praying I don't need to make another update, but we'll see. I think that's being a little naive, thinking that he was just saying as friends, because what do you mean? I think it, like, no, it wouldn't have that connotation if he meant just friends. And also, he knew that he was going to get that because he knew that you weren't succumbing to his advances. So then he was like, oh shit, like, shit, this is probably going to be a problem because I made an advance at her and she didn't like reciprocate it. So we'll see. Let's wait it out and see if we get a call from them. And if not, hopefully I flew under the radar with that one. Like, he probably left it to be like ambiguous or elusive. Which is the right word to use? Ambiguous or elusive? I don't know. But he probably made it out to be one of the two. If one of the two means like open-ended or like broad. I'm trying to think of what ambiguous means. Like, I feel like I know what it means, but then I can't think of the definition of it. Anyways, a relevant comment from OP says, the timeline isn't super clear to me, but from what he told me while we were at the coffee shop, which, by the way, included an overview of how he lost his virginity, he was a player his first year or two in college, and then he went into seminary. Ew. Ew. I mean, good for you, I guess, but I don't have the best of things to say about pastors, to be honest with you. And don't come at me, because I have grown up in like, I feel like I have a right to say how I feel about, like, the way that I feel about the Christian religion and people in the Christian religion, because I've had so much experience in the Christian religion and with Christian people, because I grew up going to youth group every Wednesday, church every Sunday, and I went to a Christian college, which was extremely strict and very, like, it wasn't just like, oh, like a Catholic college. Like, the Catholic college in my hometown was not like a real, like, Catholic college, like how my Christian college was a Christian college. Does that make sense? Like, we fully had multiple rules, like we were in like boarding school, and it was actually insane. And yeah, I've just had so many experiences. So sorry, but also one of my old pastors literally had multiple counts of essay against him. And this was one of my pastors that I genuinely thought was like the best guy ever. And I like looked up to him. I was like, oh my God, he's amazing. He's the best husband. He's the best father. Like, he's so cool because he was so hip and like he related to all the kids. Yeah, he probably related to all the kids because he was trying to be in a relationship with them. Like, he literally, at the time that he was my pastor, he had to like resign because he was essaying his assistant. And I'm pretty sure his assistant was like very young, like either a minor or she was like 19, 20-ish. So, yeah. I speak of Christianity and the Christian culture with experience. And I feel like that's a huge thing right now because of the whole Avery Woods thing. It's a very much topic that is extremely talked about right now. Like, it's going crazy on TikTok. If you're brain rot on TikTok, then you know like what's happening with all of that. And it's just a lot. But I have a lot to say about that I just can't even get into right now, honestly. Okay, we're gonna read the second update. My father-in-law asks, what would happen if we were the same age? Update 2. Hey everyone, my husband suggested I update you all on our awkward situation. So we went to stay with my in-laws for a belated Christmas/New Year's celebration. All in all, it was an okay time. For the first few hours, my stepfather-in-law wouldn't even look my way, but I focused my attention on catching up with my brother-in-law and stepsister-in-law, or playing with their puppy. At some point, my stepfather-in-law took his daughter out for some one-on-one time. That's when my mother-in-law told us she didn't know exactly what happened, but she knew something had happened between us, saying my stepfather-in-law wanted to reconcile, but he was too upset. He had other issues going on at the same time. I wanted to tell my mother-in-law about the situation right then, but my husband shook his head, so we left it at that. We did, however, start talking about stepfather-in-law's emotional state. We said we felt he was too rough on their puppy, and my mother-in-law said he once got so mad at the puppy that he thought about throwing it down a flight of stairs. That jogged a memory for me. Once I was driving with my stepfather-in-law to go pick up his daughter, and he told me about a time he got so mad at a kitten that he actually strangled it. I've since talked to my therapist about the potential animal abuse, and husband and I have talked about whether or not we think mother-in-law is in danger. We haven't noticed any signs that mother-in-law is being abused, but she grew up in an abusive household, so we're trying to be super observant in case she's trying to hide it. When it was time to say goodbye at the end of the weekend, there was an awkward lull as I tried to figure out how I would say goodbye to my stepfather-in-law. I decided to give him a brief hug, and thankfully he didn't hold on. He just put an arm around me for a second and said, "Get home safe." Well, that was a few weeks ago, and my husband and I were feeling comfortable about being low contact with stepfather-in-law. That is until my stepfather-in-law snapped me the other day. It was a video of him driving. Yes, he is constantly on his phone while driving, and singing along to a Christian rap song. After a minute of singing, he said something to the effect of, "Here's some music to get you going for the day. Jamming for Jesus. By the way, I love you and I hope you're having a great day." I didn't respond. Today, my husband called his mom and told him exactly, and she told him that she knows exactly what happened. She said she feels for all of us, but acknowledges that what he said was inexcusable. After that phone call, she sent my husband a bit from a podcast about emotional immaturity and how people sometimes revert back to their old selves when recalling a traumatic experience. For context, when we were at the coffee shop during the original incident, my stepfather-in-law told me how he had lost his virginity. He told me the woman who took his virginity laughed and mocked him for it. That's what my mother-in-law was referring to when talking about emotional immaturity. I'm not sure why she's not including me in these conversations. I talked to her today, but we never talked about the situation. This evening, my stepfather-in-law snapped me again. This time, it was him driving and singing along to that Taylor Swift song, Anti-Hero. You know the line. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Oh gosh. Also, please tell the mother-in-law, like, what is wrong? Hello? Communication is key. Please let her know. Like, I would have let her know so long ago. I can't believe you even got to update 2 without telling her. Like, that's so crazy. And for me, personally, like, I would have told my mother-in-law regardless of what my husband had to say about it. Like, my boyfriend's mom, I talked to her about a lot of stuff that happens, and, like, I would already have told her. I don't understand. I feel like she says she has a good relationship with her, so why wouldn't she do that? Like, if my boyfriend's mom's boyfriend had said something inappropriate to me, it would be the first thing I said to her immediately after that. As soon as I got her alone, away from him, I would have been like, "This is what your man's just said to me," or "This is what your man said to me the other day. Can you believe it?" I don't want to ever be the person that, like, has something they're hiding that could possibly be a factor that plays into, especially if you're not sure if she's being abused, and then you're just gonna, like, hide that from her and just be like, "Oh, we'll just keep an eye." No. You tell her that so that if she is being abused, then maybe that will give her a reason to leave. I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of, I don't understand why the husband was like, "No, don't tell her, don't tell her. Tell her, please. Please." Okay, relevant comments from OOP. I've always been a people pleaser, something I'm currently working on in therapy. I hugged him to prevent any further problems, especially since my mother-in-law didn't know yet and we weren't sure when and how we should tell her. I knew not hugging him would raise questions when I just wanted to get out of there. I'm well aware of how abusers operate. I'm well aware of the stages and escalation of grooming and abuse. That's all part of my job. I've spoken about this to my therapist as well as colleagues that have experienced dealing with abusers. We all agreed that while it was creepy, inappropriate, and definitely rang some alarm bells, it's still in a gray area. He never said anything that definitively confirmed his intentions towards me. That in mind, he has a level of deniability that made it hard for us to justify totally cutting them off. Just because I hugged him doesn't mean I was covering for him. I said in my first update that I told my husband, who called my stepfather-in-law out on his behavior. We were waiting to see if anything else would happen before we tried to work out how to tell my mother-in-law. My stepfather-in-law ended up telling her, so she knows now. I also plan to tell my brother-in-law because I don't want his new girlfriend to experience the same thing. Aside from visiting for New Year's, I haven't spoke to my stepfather-in-law since. I used to talk to my in-laws several times a week. Now all of his messages get left unread. He knows he messed up. At no point did I intend to hide this or to keep it to myself. I was just biding my time so I could better assess the situation. I know he was diagnosed with low testosterone a few months back. I think he might be reeling from the diagnosis, wanting to feel young again. Early on in our engagement, My now husband said he felt like stepfather-in-law was getting flirty. My stepfather-in-law has always been very friendly and outgoing with people in general, and my husband was always a little paranoid, so I didn't think much of it at the time. Why does she have to keep saying stepfather-in-law? Just say father-in-law. We get it. He's not actually your husband's dad. Like, okay, we get it. We get it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just being a bitch about that. But what? That's me right now. What? No way. I'm like, also, I never addressed the fact that he's an animal abuser. That would be my one, that would be my 13th reason to leave him. Like, goodbye. I'm leaving you immediately. See ya. Because no, that's my last straw. That is my last straw. Saying you want to throw a puppy down the stairs, strangling a kitten, who I would strangle you right back, girl. I wonder if that kitten died. Like, is it alive? Because I hope. Okay, we're going to read update 3. My father-in-law asks what would happen if we were the same age. Update 3. Some of you might have seen this story if you frequent the Two Hot Takes subreddit, but I thought I should post it here too. So the weekend before Christmas, my in-laws came to visit. My husband, male 27, went to have lunch one-on-one. Girl, why do you need to... This is on Best of Redditors, so it's just like a copy and paste of all the updates and stuff. So we're just going to go through that because we're not reading that, obviously. Okay, that entire update was just literally a recap of all the previous updates. So goodbye, not reading that update. There is one last update, though, and it's update number 4. So we are going to read this one. My father-in-law asks what would happen if we were the same age. Update 3. I think my last update ended with my stepfather-in-law leaving super cryptic, pushy messages about faith and family and reconciliation. He even tagged us in a 6-minute video of him talking about the sanctity of the family in Christianity and how people need to respect the matriarch and patriarch. After that, I decided to see how much he'd been posting about the situation. It was wild just how many blogs, TikToks, Facebook posts, etc. I saw going back to January. The way he twisted the scripture to gaslight and paint us as scorned liars out to get him was upsetting, but at this point, not really surprising. He cherry-picked every scripture possible to make it seem like we were wrong for not acting like this whole thing never happened, all in the name of forgiveness. I've since compiled those in case we decided to look into a protective order. When the religious manipulation got to be too much, my husband and I went back to our old church and asked to meet with our pastor. He helped my mom through her divorce from my abusive stepfather when I was growing up, so I knew we could trust him. And he did not disappoint. As soon as we told him the situation, he flat out said, "So he hit on you." As I explained the whole situation, I was trembling and could barely speak. I realized I was having the same response to this scenario as I do when I retell how I was assaulted in college. I had kind of already figured I'd opt to go no contact, but that reaction really drove home just how scared I felt about all of this. The pastor reminded me that it's not my responsibility to fix this issue or to fix my stepfather-in-law. We felt really relieved after that talk, and tonight we decided we would send the in-laws a message saying we don't feel safe and we will be stepping away from them for at least the foreseeable future. I think some people might wonder why I say foreseeable future. It's part of our religion to prioritize peace. We feel we'll have to give them a chance eventually, but only if they actually demonstrate how they've changed. Even then, our relationship will be different from how it was. So we sent the message, and my stepfather-in-law just sent back a link to a video, a 12-minute video of his attempt to explain away his behavior. We watched maybe a minute of it before we rolled our eyes and turned it off. And then he said, "We respectfully decline your request until you confirm you've watched this video in its entirety," as if I was asking for permission. I said it was not a request and it wasn't up for debate, but instead a boundary set for our protection. And then I said in no uncertain terms that if he violated that boundary, he would be blocked indefinitely. He tried to argue some more about us not taking accountability and trying to play the victims. Essentially, more gaslighting. Of course, there's no reason with this kind of person. Of course, there's no reasoning with this kind of person, so I said we're done talking. My mother-in-law never responded to the message. We did ask them to return our spare keys, but as a precaution, my dad is coming by tomorrow to change the locks. Don't worry, we have a security system complete with cameras, and some of my family members are police officers who patrol our neighborhood. I've removed my in-laws from social media and amped up my privacy settings. We do have a family gathering coming up next month, but I told them we would not be open to any physical contact and we would not be rehashing this conversation. So I'm hoping this is the last update I have for this shit show. I really wish that they could get the mom to like leave. It's really bothering me. I mean, I know that you can't like force that, but I feel like they need to have more of a deep conversation with the mother-in-law and be like, hey, just to let you know, like, obviously it's your decision. As we all know, you're an adult and you'll make your own decisions, but we're worried about you. And if you need somewhere to stay, like to leave the situation, you can stay with us. Like, I would just be so, ugh, I would just be so like worried about her. That would just worry me so much because it's like, first of all, this guy is clearly like, I don't know, is he in like a religious psychosis or something? And also, he seems like a narcissist. And I know that term is thrown around a lot, and I know that it's a very common term that's been used. I feel like that's become very overused within the past few years. But I do believe that narcissism is a spectrum, and I do believe that you can be a little like you can be on this side of the spectrum or in the middle or on this side. You know what I mean? Like there's levels to it. So like I don't believe that everyone is just if you show signs of narcissism, like I don't think that means you're just a narcissist, but I do believe that there are like people that should be diagnosed narcissists. I don't know, guys. I'm saying I believe as if there's not like an answer. I know there's an answer, but I don't know what it is, but this is how I feel about it. And then I feel like there's people that can show signs of narcissism and characteristics, but that they're not necessarily like diagnosed with narcissism or they shouldn't be diagnosed. Does that make sense? I don't know. Not a clinical psychologist, obviously. You don't need to be told that, but we're going to read some comments. What kind of person hears someone strangled a kitten and not only doesn't tell their mutual family / people, but forgets about it? Who has their stepfather do their counseling? That's so inappropriate. And then when they hit on you, not shut it down. No, in no way saying OP in this situation is a scary one. Just finding the situation bizarre and wondering if they are a part of some sort of community which has warped their idea of what is normal because no one seems to be reacting as I would expect. Well, first of all, people pleasers, I understand. I have a lot of people pleaser tendencies. So, like, when things like this happen, I feel more like uncomfortable. So, I would never be like, shut it down, which I know is not right. But, like, if this happened to me, I don't even know what I would do. I would probably react the same. Like, I'd just be like, oh, haha. And I would just, like, make it seem to be like a joke when it obviously, like, really isn't. And then I would get upset and talk to my fiance about it after and be like, can you believe this? Can you believe he'd said that? And I didn't even stick up for myself. Especially with like a figure, like a father-in-law. You know? I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like it's different if it's just some like, if it's like a peer or if it's some random guy on the street and he's being creepy. Even then, sometimes I'm like such people pleaser that I'm just like, hi. And then I'm like trying to run away secretly. I don't know. It's interesting. Someone said, yeah, I can't imagine hearing someone describing strangling a cat just cuz and then just going on with my day. I'm so confused why that wasn't even a thought for concern. Someone said, strangled a kitten, accused of grooming his daughter, totally inappropriate behavior towards his stepdaughter-in-law. Obviously a keeper. Seriously though, this would be anxious and nervous. That man is a veritable ocean of red flags, and I would be concerned for my mother-in-law's safety. Someone said, but he is religious, so it is not his fault. No, seriously though. It's really scary how much religious leaders can get away with because they're religious leaders, so people look up to them so much, even if they know things that they've done wrong. Because some people are so wrapped up, I feel like, in their religion that it just is made to seem like it's normal, or like, oh, it's fine if he does it. He's a religious man, you know? It's like, honestly, it's scary. That's why I've definitely taken a big step back from like the Christian religion, because just everything that comes with it, I think it's just like tainted Christianity so much, or like what Christianity is supposed to really be, and like what I think like Jesus would want Christianity to really be. I think people have just tainted it so much in like such a foul way and in such a big way, genuinely, that it's just not something that I can 100% relate myself with anymore, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm using the correct words, but I just can't group myself in with that anymore because of the things I've seen and the things I've heard and the things I've been a part of. Like, not been a part of, but like being part of a group, and then like hearing all, it's always so crazy because I'm not saying this is with every situation, but in my personal experience, most of those super super religious guys that were always super outspoken about their religion and super like religious leaders, wanted to be very much looked up to for the being religious and giving advice and being like a leader for people to look up to. Does that make sense? I keep asking that. Does that make sense? As if you guys are going to be like, yeah. 90% of those guys ended up being the worst guys. The worst guys I've ever met. And then comparative to just guys that don't have like a huge religious upbringing or like a huge religious background, or even atheist guys or like agnostic guys that I've met, comparative, those guys have been so much better in my experience. They don't look down at you. They don't like preach at you. They don't act like they're holier than thou because they've made all of these religious sacrifices. And that's just a big thing that I've noticed in my experience as a Christian growing up and in the Christian religion and in the church and just around that community. It's really crazy, actually. Like, I could tell some crazy, crazy stories of the crazy things. And obviously, I know, like, every man can be a shitty person, just as every woman could be a shitty person as well. For some reason, people hide behind religion and end up being the worst people I know. That's my experience. Sorry, I have to keep repeating that because like some people I feel like get mad about that, but I can't help what my experience was, you know? Like, sorry that that is my experience. Actually, I'm not sorry that that is my experience because that is something that I've been dealing with for my whole entire life, and it's not a fun thing. It wasn't fun, and it hasn't been fun to like realize and really come to terms with something that I've been involved with my whole entire life being almost like a facade in a lot of ways. I'm not saying there isn't a right way to do it, but a lot of people go about it the wrong way. But yeah, we're done with that story time segment. We're going to move on to the advice segment. So if you ever want unprofessional advice from me, the link is in the description below, and I love you. Leave as much detail as possible. Okay? We are going to read this story. The title is How Do I Get Over My Toxic Ex Friend Group? Hi, I'm very new to your channel, but your videos made me remember my toxic ex friends. I find that happens more often than I'd like. Something will remind me of them and it will make me feel upset or uncomfortable. Without going into too many details, I was not in a good place mentally when I first met them. They were online friends, but I've always struggled with making friends in person, so most of my actual friendships have been online. The leader of the group was the person who introduced me to everyone. Looking back on it now, they were insanely toxic, whether they did so intentionally or not. At some point, I started to fear them as an authority figure because they quite literally acted as the leader of the group. Any game we played was dictated by them. Most topics of conversation revolved around them. If there was a voice call without them, they'd act out and go silent, worrying the rest of the group. When asked if they were upset about it, they said no and acted like nothing happened, but it was clear that they were upset. It always greatly worried me and their partner, who was also in the friend group when this happened. There were even times when the friend and I would hang out and wound up venting about how the leader of the group affected us. A part of me still feels bad for that friend because they were also deeply struggling, and I know that they are still under the leader's thumb. Another part of me doesn't care because it's not my problem anymore. To make an already long story short, I eventually got medicated for my mental illness and started to get better. And I guess that made me harder to control because the leader wound up getting the group to kick me out. I was so distraught at first, not even getting a proper goodbye, and I think that might be part of why it sucks in my head more than I'd like. I still have a friend, not part of the group, and she's very supportive of me and helped me see how toxic that group was for me. Almost every day, the stress that they would cause would have me crying or in a bad mood. My friend was also very patient with my anxiety of her abruptly leaving me, too. Now I've come to see that the past group scarred me, and what they did was awful. I think I still resent the leader for being able to manipulate me and my fears so easily, and yet I still find myself missing the times where we would play games or talk. I think I really just miss having a group of friends, but maybe I'm not really meant to have more than one friend. I guess I just like advice you'd have to offer in how to control and how to continue my healing journey from this. I'd like to just not think about them anymore, especially as I'm so much healthier and happier than I was when I was in that group. It sounds like it's just some kind of trauma that you have to work through, and I don't think that it's just going to go away like right away, especially because it seems like the experience being in this group kind of like traumatized you in certain ways and led you to think how you think now and just be like super uncomfortable in different ways and like be almost develop an anxious attachment with your other friend that you're still friends with. So I would say just like working through that, like working through the trauma, if you could, with a therapist or with someone close to you, or journaling about it. I'm glad that you got your mental health under control and you got medicated, because that's definitely the first step to healing and to getting better. So that's a great step. And I think that it would just take time, honestly. Like, I think that time is the ultimate healer. Not to say that you should just rely on that. I do think that there's steps that you can take that I said previously that would help you, and you can use different tactics to move forward. But I would say that I think that time is going to be your biggest healer here. And I think that slowly, if you try to work on it and you try to journal about it, go to a therapist if you can, have talks with someone that is close to you about it and someone that could understand, or someone that could just listen to you and be like there for you. Obviously, I feel like don't try to revolve that your relationship around your problems, because that's definitely not like a fun friendship to be a part of. But I think there's times where, of course you're gonna vent to your friends, and that's totally okay. I think it's gonna get better and it's gonna be okay eventually. I just think that, obviously, as you said, like, a lot of the stuff that happened in this friend group scarred you, but I think the biggest thing to really remind yourself of every day is that you're so much happier and healthier without that friendship and without that friend group. And also realize that the people in this group are probably feeling the same way that you were, but are scared because they don't want to get out of the friend group. It almost sounds like it's like a little bit, I don't know. It sounds like a group that is a little bit exclusive and kind of scary, because I don't see why there'd be like a leader that could kick you out of the friend group. Like, that's a little bit scary to me. But and then maybe focus on making new friendships and making more friendships. I don't think that it necessarily means that you're not meant to be a part of a friend group, but you can make friends that don't have to be a part of a group. Like, you could just have singular friends and, focus on making new friends. But I think that would be probably the biggest thing. But I love you, and I promise you things will get better with time and you will heal from the situation. But I hope that helped. I'm going to move on to another advice question that is a little bit shorter, but this person said, okay, everyone in my life thinks this is insane, but I have been dating this man since October. Our first date was in late October and we met on a dating app. He's actually like perfect and treats me so well. However, I have never seen this man's head and it's almost March. We've been officially dating since the end of December, and him and I literally have sleepovers multiple times a week and he won't take off his hat. He sleeps with a beanie on and he has a beanie on no matter what. He told me when we first met that his day was coming, as in he was balding, but I have never seen his head. When he's wearing a beanie, he has hair, so you can see it. So I'm confused, and it's driving me crazy, but I also don't want to ask him if it's something he's really insecure about, you know? My mom thinks it's hilarious and thinks he has his ex's name tatted on his head, but I think he's just bald. Help me. Wait, I'm actually dead that you've never seen his head. That's so crazy. I mean, that's definitely insane, but like I can understand if it's something that he's super insecure about because obviously you'll go to you will go to high measures to try to conceal something that you're extremely insecure about. Like when I'm breaking out extremely bad, I will literally like wake up and put concealer on because I'll be like I can't even look at myself in the mirror. Like I can't even look at myself, nor do I want anyone else to be looking at me. Like, I don't even want, I'm alone in my house all day with my 3 cats. I don't even want my cats to be looking at me like that. Like, please, I don't want you to see mommy like this, you know? So I understand. I get it. I would probably just, like, honestly have a deep talk with him. I think if you guys are dating, you guys need to have conversations and you guys will get closer by having these conversations. So I would bring it up. Like, I would be like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I don't care if you're bald or if you're balding, but I would like you to feel comfortable enough with me where you can take your hat off when we're sleeping because at some point you're going to have to, right? If we're going to continue our relationship. If you see our relationship being long term, I'm going to end up seeing your head. Like, do you guys ever take showers together? Cuz like is he wearing a beanie in the shower and he's like washing it with shampoo and conditioner? Damn, it sounds like maybe it's glued to his head, like in the movie Matilda when that hat gets glued to when Matilda glues the hat to her dad's head. Like that's what it's kind of sounding like. So I think the biggest thing here is communication. Communication is so important in a relationship. And if you can't communicate about him always wearing a hat, then that's something that you need to work on because in a relationship, obviously, communication is so important. So it's like, this is the first step. Let this be the first step to working on communication with your partner. Talk about why he won't take his hat off and tell him that you accept him the way that he is. So even if he wants to wear a beanie at all times and he wants to go outside of the house and never take his hat off, that's fine. But you should be someone that he feels most comfortable with and hopefully slowly starts to open up that beanie too, you know? Like, come on. Come on. That's honestly hilarious and I love you for that. But hopefully I need to know an update. Like I need to know what you end up doing. Please tell me you end up talking to him and he takes the damn beanie off. Like reveal what you have to reveal, sir. Cuz it's honestly scary at this moment. It's like the unknown at this point is like it could be anything. What is on your head? What is on the head? Please let me know. Please let me know genuinely. Like seriously, I need you to figure it out. We've all seen receding hairlines. We've all seen bald heads. It's not that big of a deal. So please tell me, is it like also what if it's like a hate sign or something? What if it's a hate symbol or something? And then it's like, who are you dating? You know? So it's probably best to figure it out now. It's probably best to figure it out now. And I love you. And that's so funny. And I hope you update us. But anyways, that's the end of this episode. I love you guys and let me know what you thought about the stories that we talked about this episode. Please in the comments below. I don't really have anything to update you guys on right now. I've already yapped in my last few episodes, so this one unfortunately does not have any life updates. But if you want, there's a bunch of links below. There's my Patreon, which it's a nice fun little like secret society in there because I can talk about whatever I want. And obviously, I tell stories in there too, and I upload once a week on Saturdays. There's a Discord, there's a subreddit where you can post your stories on there, and there's a lot of stuff. So go down there if you ever need anything or comment and let me know. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.